Hello, hello, and welcome everyone to today's Q&A. I'm Dr. Janine. Nice to have you here, and bring your questions on in. Make sure you're putting it in the comments. Hey, and just say hello if you don't have a question. We usually base today's Wednesday's Q&A on yesterday's show. So if you missed the show yesterday, we had a great show, the Dr. Janine Show, all about a bunch of different topics. We talked about toxic things that unfortunately an adulteration to our apples that we're eating that we think are so healthy. If you're buying them in the grocery store, we talked about that. We also talked about my scoliosis tips and tips for good back health. If you've got back pain, scoliosis, this is something that, I have personal experience with and have helped so many of my patients with scoliosis. So we went through those tips. So if you want to sort of rehash anything that we went through yesterday, or if you missed yesterday's show, we can definitely do that. Just ask for it in the comments and say hello. Lynn, hello, nice to see you. Serena, nice. Hello, good morning. Or actually, it's good afternoon here where I'm at. In Bryan, Texas, Abaki, nice to see you. Thank you for tuning in. And Munice, like you, did I get that right? Hello, nice to see you. Thank you for tuning in. And yes, we will go through my parasite cleansing protocol. So that's something that we talked about yesterday, and killing candida as well. So we'll review that. I promised that I would go into detail today as to how to do that parasite cleansing. And we'll go through some of those herbal medicines, my favorites that I take in combination to actually cleanse out all of those bad guys that can be in your gut, and why it's so important to put the good guys back in your probiotics. We'll talk about that as well. Hello in Portugal, G. Isalyn, nice to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Care Gesso in Utah. Kukla 17 in Montreal. Hello in Canada. Nice to see you. And Helene is here from Norway. Great to have you here. Thank you for tuning in today. So great to be able to answer your questions. So if you do have those questions, make sure you're putting them in the comment section. And if you want to see anything that we covered in the show yesterday, maybe you missed it or you want a little rehash and a refresh, we can show you that as well. I also mixed up my famous bug spray recipe. So this is fantastic for repelling mosquitoes as well as ticks and other little critters. Amazing, amazing. It's all natural, so there's no toxic, ingredients. There's no chemicals in here. All natural essential oil blend, which is super effective. So we can go through that recipe as well if you would like to hear about it. Okay, Jules, 6383. I see there's an overwhelming desire to talk about killing off those parasites. So let's go on over. I've got my parasite posters over here. Let's go and review some of that information that we talked about yesterday in killing parasites and why it's so important. And whether you know you've got parasites or not, this is important because we've got a clean house, just like we do our spring cleaning right now, in your home. Every day I'm dedicating, this is my own thing, I'm dedicating like 10 minutes a day just to reshuffle things, clear things out. I actually took more than 10 minutes even this morning. I had a bit of extra time to do some work in my closet. I did something in the basement as well. It's just so cathartic to get rid of stuff that you don't need. As are parasites, things you don't need in your gut. And if you've got gut health issues, if you've got chronic illness, maybe you've got leaky gut syndrome, which can then translate into things like autoimmune disorders, thyroid issues, because of the gut issue, because you don't have that healthy microbiome. That's what we talked all about, killing off the bad guys. So let's go through some of the nasty worms really quickly. If you missed it, the tapeworm, yes, very prevalent and, often very much underdiagnosed as well, because often if you've had, a standard stool sample, and I've had patients who have gone through this whole scenario, you have your standard stool sample done, they don't find anything. There's no active or dead bugs that they're seeing. Well, that's not necessarily always, the best way to test for these things. There are definitely more expensive tests that you can have the antibodies to some of these little critters, the flukes, and maybe it's the protozoa very commonly, in different parts of the world. You don't need to travel to pick up parasites, and that's why these can be such a problem. These ones, so the cyclospora is a type of protozoa, unfortunately, that bypasses even chlorination systems. So modern water treatment, chlorination, they have adapted, and they can resist that chlorination. So you're still ingesting these, you don't even know it, you live, not in a third world country, you live in first world country, and you're picking up these things. Okay, now this is a big common one, candida. Anybody who's, sort of has been through that candida it's a big problem. So if you're craving a lot of sugar all the time, if you have white coating on your tongue, if you're prone to sinus infections and ear infections, if you've got itchy skin, dry patches, dandruff, fungal infections, this is usually the culprit, Candida. You've got that gas and bloating, especially when you crave those sweets and alcohol a lot, and things can only get worse. It changes to a fungal form, and now it can cause these microfilms and can lead to, again, more of that leaky gut. Causes a lot of problems. So part of my parasite cleansing protocol, which I'm going to share with you right now, and getting rid of those parasites also deals with this one, with the Candida, which is so effective and so important. Roundworms as well. I know they're kind of gross, aren't they? But at the same time, the hookworm, yeah, we talked about that, how it hooks onto the intestinal walls. You can see those fangs. And you can have this for years and years. I had, one patient who had hookworms. She was guessing for about 15 years. And yeah, always had low iron levels in her blood work, yet it was never diagnosed properly. Until she did my parasite cleansing protocol, was she able to alleviate all of those hookworms. And there was evidence, of course, that she was eliminating them. And I always say you don't need to look in the toilet when you're getting rid of these guys. But let's go through the protocol really quickly, and we'll come over here to the screen so I can show you my 9 tips to get rid of parasites and Candida. Hello, Melinda Bryant, nice to see you. Thank you for tuning in today. And Eleanor is asking about bacteria in the stomach as well. This protocol is something that I use for bad bacteria in the stomach. So it's something that I've used for H. pylori, very, very effective. Some of the herbal medicines actually have some science behind them in my protocol when I show you those herbal medicines for dealing with H. pylori. So really important for bad bacteria as well. As much as I say is for parasites and Candida, but for bad bacteria as well. So Eleanor, yes, you've got to pay attention to this protocol. Super, super. And it is, great that you're all here. Okay, Ellen is talking about the apple info. Yes. Organic apples, if okay, here's the thing with organic apples. If you know the farmer, you trust the farmer, then you should be okay. However, sometimes even in organic farming, there's some things being done that is not always healthy, but most times organic is going to be okay. I hope that answers your question. All right, so let's take a look really quickly at the 9 tips. Okay, so number 1, of course, if you know you've got some exposure to parasites, for instance, you have a dog, the dog eats raw food, like you're washing your hands, you're decreasing your exposure as much as possible, maybe wearing gloves when you handle that food to try to decrease your exposure. Another example is if you love to eat your sushi or you eat your meats undercooked, this could be another exposure. When you're handling meats in the kitchen and things, that would be another exposure. So trying to decrease your exposure as much as possible is going to be really important in terms of, how to get rid of those parasites and that Candida. Tip number 2, eat in a relaxed setting, eating outside. Really important, and this is not just because it's better you're more relaxed outside, but outside is programming your microbiome. Okay, so the light and dark cycle of the day programs your own microbiome. So your microbiome, of course, is your good and bad bacteria in your gut, and it is programmed by the light, okay? So this is really important. Your microbiome actually gives off light in your system. So this is important. If it's not in tune with nature, and this is why I'm always saying get outside, see the natural sunlight, get grounded. This is because your body internally has to be also connected to what's going on externally so that there's not that chaos, not that discommunication happening, which is inflammation. Okay, so this is important. Make sure that you're programming your microbiome properly, getting as much natural sun exposure on bare skin and in bare eyes, so not wearing sunglasses, really important. Now, digestive enzymes help you to break down your food, but they also weaken the outer walls of parasites and Candida, so that's really important. I love plant-based digestive enzymes. The one that I use, of course, is really super strong and specifically targets that Candida as well. Okay, herbal medicines. Let's go through the list. My favorite, it's called Cabo. Okay, so let's show them to you really quickly. Cloves, artemisia, black walnut, and oregano. That is my favorite combination that I've had the most success with my patients, with myself, my own family with severe parasite issues. We've gone through personally. Yeah, this is the combination that you're looking for, okay? Amazing, amazing. And of course, in the right concentrations, in the right, standardized extracts of these herbal medicines, that's what I take, all right? Now, let's go back to the list. Of course, taking fiber is gonna help to trap. So once you kill off those bad guys, you've got to trap the bad guys, move them out through the digestive tract, as well as, of course, your candida. Doing that full body detox, super important, because these bad bugs and candida gives off over 60 different toxins, okay? So if you're not dealing with that toxic load, helping with your liver health, helping with your kidneys, doing all of that at the same time, then that's when you don't feel well, when you do parasite cleansing or candida cleansing in the wrong way. So that's really important. These are other herbal medicines, of course, in combination. As part of that detox, probiotics to put the good guys back in. You got to have that good, healthy microflora. A functional protein powder is important because it helps to heal up those tight junctions in the gut. And of course, that mind-body connection. So this is something that we talked about yesterday. If you missed it, it's good that you tuned in right now. So you got to think about parasitic people, situations in your life, okay? So if you're prone to parasites, you're prone to candida all the time, your gut health is messed up, you just know that this is something that is a chronic thing for you, then you got to think about, okay, how and why are you allowing parasitic people to be in your life? And I'm just going to plant that seed because, it's going to mean different things for different people, but you got to purge and get rid of things that you don't need, okay? If that makes sense. All right, awesome. And stay away from sugar. Sugar drop 62, absolutely. That should have been on my list, absolutely, as well. Number 10, don't feed the bad guys, okay? So feeding all of these, especially candida loves sugar. All of these parasites, they love sugar. And that's why when you go sugar-free, a lot of things are happening when people go keto or they get off the sugar. They start to feel better. Why? Because they're not feeding some of these bad organisms in the gut. But sometimes that, and most times, it's not enough. What I found clinically with my patients is that you've got to do a kill phase. You got to get rid of these ones. Because when you start eating a bit of sugar again, they just come back. Okay, so doing that strong kill phase with your parasites, really, really important. And now the parasite protocol in more detail. This is the way that I've done it with my patients over the years with the most success. So week 1 and 2, you're taking those herbal medicines for parasite cleansing, the Cabo that we talked about. Week 3 and 4, that's when you introduce the detox, and this is supporting your body now with that toxic load. Week 5 and 6, you go back to the parasite cleanse again, but then you're still continuing on with your detox. And week 7 to 10, you're continuing on with that detox process. And usually that is good for that season. Some people need to repeat right away, okay? So that is important depending on your healing mechanisms, how many parasites, what type of parasite you have, will determine if you start right away on your next season's detox and you're starting a little bit early. Okay, Alex, the DP keto helped you. Amazing, amazing. And awesome, awesome, awesome. And okay, so there's some details here about Bernadette. Yes, thank you for sharing that about catching some worms in some places. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you for everybody else reading the comments on that. You can definitely see what I'm talking about, which is awesome. I love that we are so open and talking about parasites here. And okay, so Natasha, your appendix was inflamed. And after your appendix was removed, of course, getting some digestive issues. Now, of course, remember, just FYI, I can't diagnose. I'm not your doctor here. I just give general information. So if you do have very specific questions, that is something that I can't, diagnose and give you that answer. However, in general, when people have had their appendix removed, it can be a problem because that is usually the reservoir. So if we go over to Lucy really quickly, Lucy's got a bunch of bugs in her gut, okay? So the appendix, which is tucked down in here, is a reservoir for your good gut bacteria, for your probiotics. So now you're not gonna have enough of that reservoir of the probiotics, and it can cause some digestive upset. For some people, they'll be very constipated. Other people can have loose stools and diarrhea. So making sure that you're getting enough good quality probiotics for anybody who has diarrhea, but if that could be something that is, something to definitely look into, getting a good high quality probiotic. And my favorite 2 strands are Lactobacillus acidophilus, Bifidobacterium bifidum. For specific questions, please refer to my team. So we do have an email if we're going to bring it up really quickly here. So specific, if you've got vitamin and questions very specifically about protocols and things, just send an email to hello@vitatree.com, okay? And they'll be able to help you out. My team that is there, behind the scenes, which is amazing. So thank you. Rena is here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you for tuning in. And sorry, I missed that. Oh, the bug spray, yes, let's go over. So I know that a lot of you who tuned in yesterday, we will go to the recipe in just a second, but we mixed up the bug spray. So the bug spray, which is all natural, and the EPA actually deemed citronella, so that is one of the components of the bug spray, is now deemed an official, bug repellent, which is amazing, and it's all natural. So this is citronella, okay? So all you're gonna mix up, and I'm gonna show you the recipe card in just a second, is some witch hazel, which is known, it's a natural astringent, so some people use it as a toner and cleanser for their face. So amazing, amazing. So you're just gonna mix this up with some citronella, some eucalyptus essential oil, and I'm going to show you the exact recipe in just a second, and of course the peppermint. Now some alternative oils that you could use, lavender, lemon is also great as an additive into here. Mix that all into a little container, and then you can use, or you can mix it like right into your spray bottle. I prefer a glass spray bottle if you can, but if you're traveling, sometimes that's not convenient, so I did do it in plastic. Essential oils aren't the best in plastic, you know how I feel about plastics and microplastics, but sometimes for travel the glass can be a problem, so just FYI. Okay, but if you can find the glass ones, they were actually out of them at the store, so that's why we had to go with plastic, but that's great. And this, all you do now is you're gonna spritz all over your skin surfaces. Make sure that, especially for ticks, that you're getting around the ankles before you go out, and it smells so lovely and it's so natural. We were spraying it around the studio yesterday and we're like, oh, what's that smell? It's so good. Yeah, it's the bug spray. Believe it or not, it actually smells good and very refreshing. Let's go over, I'm going to show you the recipe really quickly. So that you can see it. You can screenshot this if you have the ability to do that really quickly. Of course, we've got the 10 drops, okay, of the citronella, as well as 10 drops of the peppermint essential oil, 10 drops of eucalyptus essential oil, and just in brackets you see some alternatives here that you can also add into the mixture. You could add another 10 drops of lemon and lavender if you wanted to. And then if you're going to add in more essential oil, just alter your 50 mLs, a little bit more of the witch hazel, add that to a spray bottle, and you've got that with you, okay? So you will love that. Please hit that share button, everybody. And if you're here for the first time, please say hello. I see Jovin just shared the live. Yolanda, thank you so much for sharing. Jenny, thank you so much for sharing as well. Thanks for everybody who tuned in today. It's so great to have you. Jenny is here for the first time. Kaz as well. Thank you. So thanks for following, and make sure that you are subscribed, that you're following me, that you get all my content. It's great that you happen to tune in today. We do the live Q&A on every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Okay, so 1 p.m. next week, I want you to tune in, but more importantly, on Tuesday is my live show, and every week we have a different topic, a set of topics that we talk about. Yesterday we happened to talk about apples and the unfortunate, things that they do to apples, and how, growing your own apples or actually going to a farm and getting organic apples is going to be definitely better for you because they're sprayed and then they're bleached and then they're waxed. So there's a big problem with conventional apples that look so perfect in the grocery store. We talked about that yesterday. We also, of course, made our bug spray yesterday, which was amazing. And, okay, there was a question about, can you substitute Celtic salt for sea salt in the Soleil water? So really quickly, Soleil water is something that we talked about for an anti-aging thing. So for proper hydration, we want to, of course, always hydrate our skin from the inside out, because you know that I'm all into natural anti-aging. So Soleil water is something that we've mixed up in previous episodes. It is salt, and we'll pull up the recipe in just a second, but it's salt and water. Then you take a little bit of that and you add that to your drinking water, and that really helps to plump up, let's say, ourselves from the inside out in a good way, because it actually maintains that proper hydration in your system. So somebody was asking, can you substitute Celtic salt for the sea salt that we use in the Soleil water? I don't like the Celtic salt, and I used to like it. I used to love it. I also used to love Himalayan salt. And the reason I don't like those is that I looked at some of the research on both Celtic and Himalayan, and they were found to have a lot of heavy metal contaminants and toxicity. So for that reason, I have now switched and will forever be with the sea salt. The one that I use is from Utah. You can search that up. I'm not going to give you the brand name, but you're going to use 2 teaspoons of that sea salt in 1 liter of water. And I like to mix it up in the mason jar. So this is a 1 liter glass mason jar. You mix that up, and then you're just using a half a teaspoon of that in your drinking water when you're drinking, and that really helps with that hydration from the inside out. So there you go. That's the Soleil water recipe. There you've got it. And I hope, and we actually, Linda actually tuned in yesterday. I don't know if Linda's here, and she started making the Soleil water just from seeing it on my show, and sure enough, she doesn't have headaches anymore. And it's been how many months now? Is it 6 or 8 months now and she had chronic headaches, almost 9 months. So September last year, she started making the Soleil water, no more headaches for 9 months. Yeah, so simple, right? And this is something that's why I love to educate you. That's why I love when you tune in. So thank you for tuning in today. It's so great to have you all here. And J9 Aka, hello, nice to see you, another J9. Thanks for the follow. And there's a butterfly who followed as well. Thank you so much. It's so great to have you. Grace in Texas, I think it's Texas, is giving us the name of the sea salt. So that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Amazing, amazing. And Rosa, I'm so glad that you love the natural information that I share. It's so great to have you. I know J9, AKA, right, I know we have the same name. I wonder if you spell your name the same way that I do, Janine. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm known as Dr. J9. So it's nice to meet you all if you're here for the first time. Amazing, amazing. There was a question yesterday. I don't know if that follower is here who was asking about blood pressure. So just let me know, team, because I haven't seen him or her is not here yet, but that's okay, because I was going to address that as well. And if there's anything else, okay, so Donna has a good question. Oxalate toxicity. This is a great question, Donna. And doing a detox. Well, please check out my information on leptin resistance. So your oxalate, when you've got sensitivity to oxalates, there's more going on beneath the surface. And this has a lot to do with your sun exposure, your leptin signaling, your hormonal balance, getting enough of that natural sunlight on your skin, and what's happening with your internal metabolism with your oxalates is more related to all of that versus actually eating them in the diet. Yeah. So, and the same is very true for what I was going to talk about with blood pressure issues as well, and how much natural sun exposure you're actually getting on your skin is going to determine, and they've actually studied this in terms of your nitric oxide levels and how it helps to expand and open up your blood vessels. So yeah, so sun, you hear me talking about the sun all the time. It's super important. It's the most important nutrient that we need. Okay, so Gabriel has a question. Or a comment, been using your supplements and the specific one to treat oral thrush, so the Parasite Cleansing Protocol. Thus far, you've seen great improvement. I'm the man from Romania, if you remember me. Gabriel, thank you so much for commenting. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm so glad that you are feeling better and that your thrush is disappearing. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And that's from doing the protocol. That's the thing, right, Gabriel? When you tune in, you learn something. But more importantly, what I love about the fact that Gabriel is commenting here is that you did something about it. It's one thing to listen to everything that I say, and I don't know who needs to hear this, but I'm just going to say it. It's one thing to listen to all the tips and things that I share, and not everything is for everyone. I get that. However, when you actually take it upon yourself to do something about it, maybe it's as simple as making the Soleil water, putting the salt in the water, and drinking that every day, and you start to feel better, that's what it's all about. And that's why I spend so much time and energy and researching, doing what I do here on social media to help to educate all of you. And I love the fact that you tune in and you're dedicated to tuning in. Gita is in Romania as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's so great to have you all here. And Juicebox, thank you so much for all the love. It's so great to have you all here. And I do love, answering all of your questions. And okay, G. Iselin is talking about cholesterol. Cholesterol cholesterol is multifactorial. And here's the thing about cholesterol. Cholesterol is not bad. Cholesterol is actually very important. We need cholesterol to make our vitamin D, to help with our hormonal production as well. So if we don't have enough cholesterol, we can't make our testosterone, we can't make vitamin D, and then our bones get weak. So it's a step down process as to how cholesterol is properly broken down. But here's the thing, if your leptin signaling is messed up, so coming back to that leptin resistance, if you're disconnected from nature, you're not getting outside, natural sunlight exposure, natural cold exposure, if you live in a colder climate, then what happens is that you're going to run into difficulties with your cholesterol metabolism, and your body can shunt, especially in times of stress, but even with that leptin resistance, it's going to shunt all of that cholesterol into something called cortisol. Anybody know what cortisol is? Yes, and cortisol, our stress hormone, it's called pregnenolone steal syndrome, and it's going to shunt all of that pregnenolone into that cortisol instead of making your other downstream hormones, and it causes a lot of problems. So cholesterol is not the bad guy. It's finding the right balance with your cholesterol levels, and doing it that way from the inside out is so important. And that's why if you see any of my content, there are herbal medicines that definitely help with cholesterol and balancing cholesterol levels. I do talk about that in some shows. Actually, that's something for a future show that I can focus in on, because I'm sure a lot of people have that cholesterol conundrum question as well. So we'll make a note that I talk about cholesterol very specifically, and some of the herbal medicines that have been proven in the literature to help to balance, especially decreasing the sticky cholesterol, the LDL, and increasing the HDL. Bahij, I'm so honored, and thank you. I love to educate, that's why I do what I do, and that's amazing. Thank you for tuning in again. Bahij has been watching for a while, so thank you for tuning in, Bahij. Yes, question, yes. Yes, so if you're just tuning in now, I had spoken earlier about H. pylori, the bad bacteria in the stomach, which can lead to stomach ulcers. The parasite cleansing protocol is designed for that as well, 100%. And I've actually had clinical success with doing that protocol for H. pylori. So is it Slavomila? Yes, H. pylori, parasite cleansing protocol. If you want to see it really quickly, again, maybe we should pull it up really quickly so that you can screenshot this, or you can watch the show again from yesterday's. Woo! So you can. Wow, that was scary. I almost knocked Ricky off. I almost got knocked over. Okay, so the parasite cleansing protocol, and we'll go back to the 9 tips for killing the parasites as well. So you're gonna do your first couple weeks on the parasite cleanse, and no, let's go back here for a second. Then you're going to do the detox, and then you're going to continue with the parasite cleansing on week 5 and 6, and then the detox. Now, let's go to the 9 tips really quickly. So if you want to screenshot this really quickly, and then I'll show you the herbal medicine specifically to look for in combination. And I think my team behind the scenes can help to direct you to specific products in terms of what I personally take myself. Okay, so decrease your exposure, eat in a relaxed setting outside, digestive enzymes weaken and actually help to kill off those parasites as well. The herbal medicines, which I'll show you in a second, are very specific to this. So again, this is applicable for H. pylori as well. Okay, so anybody who has bad bacteria, this is going to be helpful. Take the fiber, full body detox, probiotics, functional protein powder, and the mind-body connection. Parasitic people, you got to get rid of them in your life. Now, this is also applicable. I'm just going to say, yes, it says parasites and candida, so bad bacteria. If you're prone to sinus infections, chronic ear infections, chronic urinary tract infections, yeast infections, same protocol, okay? That H. pylori that we talked about, same protocol. Okay, let's take a look at the herbs really quickly to do that kill phase. And it's also very antiviral, so that I'm just going to mention that. I'm just going to put it out there. Very important as well. Cloves, artemisia, black walnut, and oregano. So Cabo, C-A-B-O. That's how you remember it. Okay, there you go. I hope that helps. V2K Guy, sugar makes your eyes very blurry. Yes, sugar and alcohol will deplete your vitamin A very quickly in the eyes and cause vision blurriness. Uncle Louie, bloating. Yes, that protocol that I just showed you. You got to clean up that gut microbiome, kill off those bad guys. It is part of that protocol with if you've got chronic gas and bloating. And that functional protein powder. So was it step number 8? On the 9 tips? Can we bring that up really quickly? Yes, number 8, functional protein powder actually helps with healing up the leaky gut. So very specific nutrients in that functional protein powder which helps with the leaky gut syndrome. If you've got chronic gas and bloating, yes. Oh, pregnenolone steel. Okay, let's look at that really quickly because there was a question about this in the cholesterol. So just coming back to this, thank you so much, my team. Wow, everybody's on point today. Okay, so cholesterol, not a bad thing, but yes, I mean, you can have, an imbalance and too much of the bad and not enough of the good, HDL. But here's what can happen with pregnenolone steel when you've got issues with your leptin signaling, okay? What happens with pregnenolone is that is preferentially always going to go towards your cortisol. So that stress hormone, bad situation because now you're depleting and that's going to have effects on, so we had questions yesterday about blood pressure. That's going to affect your aldosterone levels and your blood pressure. Also your downstream hormones, testosterone, estrogen, even your thyroid. It's going to increase something called reverse T3, shut down your thyroid, and that is not a good situation for anybody who has low thyroid function, all relating back to that leptin resistance here, okay? Stress levels don't help this situation, so we know why we talk about cortisol and balancing cortisol levels and your stress is that you don't want it shunting from your pregnenolone, from your cholesterol originally over to your cortisol too much, okay? So that's really important. All right, I hope that answers that. Helping with Susan Carr, yes, we talked about scoliosis, back pain yesterday. So really quickly, let's review my tips for scoliosis. Can we go to that? Okay, 9 tips for scoliosis. So functional movement. If you missed the episode, my podcast with maybe he should be a doctor, Erwan LaCour. Amazing, amazing, amazing type of exercise, which is so phenomenal for any type of back issues. It is challenging. I am doing the courses myself right now. Whew, it's called MoveNat, M-O-V-N-A-T. Please check out my podcast with him, okay? Erwan LaCour. It's amazing. So functional movement, very different. You know how we used to move as children, like down on the ground, doing crab crawls, crawling around, climbing trees. That's what it's all about. Getting back to strengthening yourself as an adult. For most of us learning this now, you got to get back to how we used to have that range of motion and mobility. And I'm kind of scared at the age that I'm at that if I weren't starting this now for myself, where would I be in 10 years, 20 years? I wouldn't have the mobility that I need to have. So I'm having to sort of go back and relearn how to do all of these things in a pain-free way. So really important for strengthening your back. Functional movement. So check out that episode on MoveNat, okay? And check out his courses. Amazing. I highly recommend. Yoga, also really important to strengthen and lengthen the musculature, okay, and keep everything in balance. Swimming, really important as well. Sleep position important, so making sure that you are using pillows to support, keep your spine straight for chronic back pain as well. How you sit, so don't cross your legs when you're sitting. Keep everything in alignment. Just always think alignment for your back. Emotional traumas definitely are stored in the back, but also in the hips. And when the hips are off, that can offset your pelvis and cause scoliosis and back problems, as well as grounding, so important, sunlight exposure, and fixing your leptin resistance. Now that leptin resistance, again, key, because chronic inflammation in your body can be related most times to that leptin resistance. So you gotta get that down. Get that inflammation down, and that's a great way to do it. Okay, there you go. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yes, yeah, move around like you're 5 years old. That is exactly right, Chris. Okay, awesome. Sorry, the name again for the podcast for the functional movement, Susan, it is my podcast with Erwan LaCour, okay? And it's all about, are you breathing wrong? I think is the name. Are you breathing and moving all wrong? I think is the title of that podcast. So please check it out. It's my most latest podcast that I released. Okay, so Susan, please check it out. Listen to the whole thing. There's some gems in there. There's a breathing. He's actually a breath hold champion. Yeah, so he's a record holder for holding his breath. The man can hold his breath for 8 minutes. Without taking oxygen or anything, but 8 minutes he can hold his breath. I mean, it's crazy. Okay, warning, your exercise and breathing is all wrong. That's the name of the podcast. So please, everybody listen to that. Listen to it today, even if you have to do it in chunks, listen to it. And it has that beautiful, like very powerful breathing exercise in there that incorporates the breath holding, which it's very powerful. If you've never done breath holding before, breath hold work, And that's another course that he offers as well, which I am in the midst of doing. So yeah, I'm learning a lot, which is amazing. I love to always learn from other experts in the world, which is why I love doing the podcast as well, because I'm learning as well. Okay, well, thank you so much to everybody who tuned in. I hope I got to your question. I know there were a few more coming in. And continue to put your questions in the comments section. Remember, if you do have any specific protocol questions on some of, supplements and things, please send an email to hello@vitatree.com, and the team there will be able to answer your question. Make sure you tune in on Tuesday, okay? So Tuesday is the Dr. Janine Show. I know, thank you for sharing today's live, and thanks to all my new followers. So please hit that follow button and that subscribe button if you want more natural health information. And please make sure that you are subscribed so that you can get those notifications that when I do go live. So on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be going live with the Dr. Janine Show. So that happens every Tuesday. And of course, we're going to be talking more about vitamin do's and don'ts. So a lot of questions I get about that. And I am a vitamin expert, and natural vitamins. I'm talking whole food vitamins here. So I'm going to dispel some of those myths and let you know what to look for in good quality vitamins, as well as talking about zinc deficiency, which is huge. A lot of people have a zinc deficiency, they don't even know it, so what to look for. And hollow eyes, so some of my beauty tips. What can we do for hollow eyes? Okay, we're going to talk about that next week on Tuesday. Make sure that you tune in, and I will see you all then. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you then. Bye.